Notes for my November 2025 reading of Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. Today is Friday, 21 November 2025, and I'm Tanis Coralee of Seattle, and this is my copy. It's a little worn. There's a 2001 copy, so okay. So here I talk through my book and reading notes for my November 2025 reading of a fiction book about a male art professor assisted by a female physicist in investigating murders/attempted murders for high-ranking members of the clergy in Vatican City. Angels and Demons by Dan Brown, 2000, initial publishing. This is the July 2001 or a July 2001 pocketbooks, first paperback edition, paperback. ISBN in the video description. I started the book on Friday, 7 November 2025 and finished the book on Friday, 21 November 2025. It's 573 pages, including the About the Author section. It took me 12 days of reading, 30 pages Friday, 7 November, 20 pages Sunday, 9 November, 20 pages Monday, 10 November, 70 pages Wednesday, 12 November, 50 pages Thursday, 13 November, 30 pages Friday, 14 November, 50 pages Saturday, 15 November, 50 pages Sunday, 17 November, 70 pages Monday, 17 November, 50 pages Tuesday, 18 November, 50 pages Thursday, 20 November, and 83 pages Friday, 21 November. Yeah, so it was 573 pages. So, yeah, it looks like this for those of you who really don't like this tiny font with not the biggest spacing. It moved out of clip, though, for me in my reading. I've read this before. I'll say it was consistent with my reading this before in the sense of, so essentially there's this character and he's a recurring character in Dan Brown books, who's a male art professor, and so he goes and there's like, there was the Pope murdered kind of thing, and then because they're not allowed to do autopsies, and then there's like a number of the cardinals have gone missing, which matters because they're trying to vote and elect a new Pope, or select, I gotta be right. But then each of the cardinals that went missing are being killed in like the theme of like this mysterious science clan or something like that. So kind of it pits science versus religion, and I'm like, personally, per my tastes, I think religion and specifically Christianity is kind of its most beautiful without science. I think science is something that when introduced in Christianity, it kind of weakens the religion. It's my personal taste, as I'm like, it does fine, just don't bring up science and you guys seriously do fine. So I don't know if it's like, that's it, like whenever science gets introduced, it kind of like becomes a one-upping battle, and I'm like, I have no problems with Christianity, but science isn't part of the picture, which is what it originally was. So there's been like some serious drift and like some serious insecurity and stuff. I'm just like, in Christianity, religion wins over science, per my taste. So there we go. I was 32 years of age for the duration of this reading, and I had not ever been to Italy, which is consistent with my previous readings of the book. I gave it a rating of 4 out of 5 stars. It was a bit sexually graphic for my taste, coercive sexual touching of a female character. So that is something that's changed since my previous reading. This is my readings. Before, I had not been sexually assaulted, and now I have, and I'm just kind of like, interestingly enough, that was off-putting even before I was sexually assaulted, so that remains unchanged. But my rating is consistent. This was not a 5 out of 5 for me, nor was it a 4 out of 5, like a 4.5 out of 5. It was a solid like 4 category. So then why rank it so high if it has kind of a combination that I don't necessarily like, and sexually graphic that I don't like? It is really, I'd say it remains, and at the, previously reading it, that stood out then as well, it's really, really, really well done in its action sequences. It has multiple storylines going on, as in like more than one. And it does such a good job of weaving those storylines together and not ever dropping off in terms of like pacing of the book. It's so well done. It's a writer's note. I'm just like, but it's just so well done in terms of action. Like, I read like 50 pages a day and it was not painful whatsoever. Like it was, so there's that. It was just, it's just a good writing book. Okay. Per my taste. And then I have two other little things. Let's see. Okay. And I thought of this when I read this previously too, so this is another unchanged. Page 97. You think CERN is so critical to the Earth's future that we should be immune from moral responsibility, unquote. And talking about physics and physicists and how they view themselves, and as like immune because it's just so important, you know, physics. And I was like, you know, what was funny in reading this is like I read this and I go, you know, I've never been an entrenched physicist at any point in my life. And I read this and I was like, in reading this before, I'm like, you know, I'd almost make more of a case for like physiology being more of my base, because I read this and I see immune and I go, immune system, white blood cells, like antibodies. And so like in reading this before and reading it now, I was kind of like, does that mean my soulmate is gonna be like, have a surname of White? Like I take the surname White just because like whenever I see the word immune, my brain goes white blood cells, you know, like just like some things are just so hardwired in. And I'm not like entrenched physiology, but like my brain kind of like processes in terms of physiology. That was just, yeah. And then page 466, I thought this was really cool. So this has been, you know, initially published 2000 and this copy is 2001. You know, watch like, you know, modern day little squares that are like digital fingerprints come from this book. And I remember thinking this like previously in reading, I was like, this is going to turn some tech thing and they're going to be like, oh, we came up with it. And I'm going to have to hold this book up on camera and be like, no, you didn't. This guy did. You know, I'm not saying he's like the first, but I'm just like, you know, there's origins for stuff and people like to be shady. Not all people. Some of us like to give proper attribution, or at least attempt to. So there we go. Those are notes for my November 2025 reading of Angels and Demons by Dan Brown.